Thanks for being with us, Scott. I just wanted to let you introduce yourself to talk to the audience a little bit about this interesting report that your team has worked extensively on. But maybe you can start off by just telling the audience who you are, what you've been doing, and certainly a little bit about what CCD is and its impact on this particular report that we'll be talking about.
Yeah, so I kind of have a couple of hats that I wear. One is certainly a professor here at Boston University. Been working in this space, if you will, of the personalized career and academic plans or individualized learning plans for many years, and been conducting a lot of research on that topic, and also really working with states around how to implement and design and really build capacity within schools to really do this work well. And as part of that, or an outgrowth of that, I was able to help form this Coalition for Career Development Center. Leo Reddy is the founder from the business world, and I serve as the vice president for research. And we're really trying to understand how we can incentivize, if you will, a collective action at a national level around career readiness is the number one education priority. And within that are five key pillars. The career advising piece is certainly important. How do we get access to good information? The personalized career and academic plan, so the career planning, and then work-based learning is our third pivotal pillar. And we'll talk more about that in a moment as we go on with the conversation. But the other two are technology. We need to have career technologies that are they're not the driver, but they're the tool to support exploration, engagement, and really helping you find their future pathways. And then finally, accountability. We've got to start assessing to see are these activities, are we getting full access? Is everyone able to participate effectively, and are we getting the outcomes that we need to see at the end of the day? So those are kind of the five areas that we're most interested in as a place. And we've done this condition of career readiness report as a way of helping look at the national scene of how we're doing as a country. How are we doing in each of these areas? And so the 2022 is our inaugural report. We'll have another one out, we expect, at late May of this year. So we're excited about that. And it'll be a little more hard hitting on some areas, but also pointing out some good directions for how we can use our federal dollars that exist right now to help improve the process.
That's great. I mean, you mentioned WBL as being a pillar, not just now, but also in the report. I think you brought it up on page 10 and mentioned it as recommendation number 5 as a CCD pillar. Why do you feel that? Why is WB, in your opinion and the opinion of the folks that you're working with for this report, why do you feel it's so important?
Yeah, what's exciting about work-based learning is it really hits the core elements of what we want around, and I'm thinking from the student perspective and family. Sure. Yep. How do we deepen their understanding of themselves, right? So when they get access to seeing the world of work, either through conversations with adults, employers, going out and seeing the sites, participating in job activities, they're also looking to say, is this something I want to do? Is this something I can do, right? So it's really a powerful way for them to see themselves in that space. It's also a way for them to see all the possibilities, right? What's the range of opportunities within that? So if somebody gets into a hospital setting, for example, as a work-based learning, they're not only looking at maybe the role they're playing in that volunteer, they're also seeing all these other roles they can play. So it's helping open up their understanding. There's a whole world out here that's outside my classroom that really looks exciting. So we're really hoping to expand their sense of identity of what's possible. And then the third is really getting those skills. They need to see that they have talent and that they can start applying those skills in the workspace, and the workspace can help build more talent. So it really is an exciting way of thinking about the fact that we're building identity, we're building skills, but we're also helping them build an understanding of themselves through this process as well.
And help me understand a little bit, and our audience, why do you feel, in addition to the points you said, why do you feel that WBL really increases, again, from the research perspective, why does it increase, and what have you seen to increase the incomes and the outcomes of career readiness?
Yeah.
What is the data showing as a result to some of the national research?
Well, let me give you more of the international research, and it does include our national as well. So the Organization for the Economic Cooperation and Development, which is our big international group that focuses on all the big countries that have strong workforces and economies, what they found when they looked at all the longitudinal research from the United States, UK, Australia, European Union writ large, all of these different things. And one of a couple of things that came out about work-based learning, and one was that if in middle and in high school, if in that period, they have meaningful career conversations with an employer, when they're young adults, they actually have higher earnings. So there's something about connecting with the world of work, in this case, meaningful career conversations, being with employers, which is a core element of this work-based learning process, that we're getting mentoring, we're getting coaching and support. But also for youth of color and youth with disabilities, it has double the effect. It's not just an effect, it doubles the effect on their
Really?
income earnings. And part of the reason for that is because if they don't see someone like themselves in an occupation, they don't believe it's not possible, right? They have
Hmm.
to see it to believe it, to know it's something they can do. So we need these encouraging mentors from the workforce to be able to really solidify a sense that, yeah, you belong in this space. And here's some ideas of ways in which we can support you. So it really does, it really is about helping youth build an identity that says I belong, and I can, right? I can do this kind of work. It's a double piece. You may have the skills, but you don't believe you belong. You're not going to be doing it. It's not going to be helpful.
Are
So
you
that's
seeing any
one of the
particular
areas.
populations that are really driving towards that's are seeing that doubling? Are there any particular cultures that you're seeing in any of the national research?
Well, the national research that's looking at that, a lot of it's on the U.S. end of things. So it really is our youth of color and students with disabilities,
Okay.
specifically as we think about the United States. It's also low income youth and things like that. So basically, what you're seeing is the income gain, right, is because you're already suppressed economically based on some of these risk factors, like not getting access to work-based learning, not seeing or seeing any role models in STEM careers, for example. What that does is it immediately says, I don't belong in this space. So when you think of it from that perspective, what we're trying to do is to capture, in essence, that yes, you can. And when you do that, income's going to go up. This population is the one that's going to gain the most out of that because they're the ones that are getting the least access right now
Okay.
to those opportunities. So it's a very powerful case to make that is the right direction. But that means we have to start looking at equity of access. And as you know, from our condition report, only 5 states in their work-based learning policy was looking at access
Mm.
in relation to equity as one of their areas to look at. And that's a critical piece. We need
Do
to be
you,
seeing who's getting involved in these activities.
Scott, do you think that has to do with some of the WIOA mandates in any way, shape, or form? Do you think there's some correlation to what your research is identifying and what WIOA is putting together for some of the mandates, or or does it correlate?
Well, we always doing a great job in a couple of areas. One, they've really kind of embraced the individualized learning plan, and they call it individualized career services, right?
Okay.
And when you look at the definition of individualized career services, it's not just job placement anymore. It's also goal setting, looking at the learning pathways to help you pursue those goals that you're setting. So it's very much along that personalized and individual driven process. Very exciting about that. You're seeing a lot of movement down into the youth sector, especially around with individuals with disabilities. And that's starting to show, we're starting to see a lot of good support around that. And so we're seeing, at least in our one-stop job centers in Massachusetts, they have whole groups in supporting getting access to work-based learning. So school can call up and use that partnership
Nice.
to support their students coming in, which is very exciting. And they've been working on this now for a number of years because it was kind of a shock to the system when they found out they had to spend some significant dollars on this population. Probably the one area that's most challenging, well, 2 areas that are most challenging. One is that we've got a whole group of opportunity youth or disconnected youth, right? Those that are leaving school and not getting connected to education or the world of work, and they're going off the grid. That's a significant population, and it's one that we haven't really figured out how to deal with. And that's where WIOA is trying to position itself. And so what we have to be doing at the state level is figuring out what organizations are going to be using those dollars, right, to support those, or really working with them around bringing in some new organizations to do that, with the idea that they have to both identify before they leave the high school, and we've got them. We know which ones have no clue what they're doing when they walk out the door. They haven't done the FAFSA form. They haven't really got any goals.
Right.
We
Right.
know that these are the risk factors, right? So we know who they are while they're in the high school, and that's our best option to first grab them, right? And then as that's happening, we need to be looking at that next couple of years out, to keep them connected in some kind of training or workforce development type of process. But that's an area that I think we can continue to improve on. The reason I bring in organizations is we can't ask the school to figure it out. We can't just have
Right.
businesses jump in. We really need an intermediary who's going to be like a case manager for those individuals. And when they bring in that personalized career planning process, the ILP that we talked about,
Yep.
it's amazing. We've got great data from some really exciting projects showing just how transformative it is for youth that are coming out of the criminal justice system, for youth that are with disabilities, that are at risk and need some additional mentoring. In all those cases, helping them think about their future plans, seeing their potential in the world of work, and then connecting them with employers to really start building that out. It's transformative, and it gets them thinking then about post-secondary pathways. It gets them thinking about their economic pathways before they head out. So I think there needs to be
Mm.
that kind of intermediary who understands that we're also talking about trauma-informed practices, because
Sure.
a lot of these youth have very significant issues. They need to understand. It's almost like coming in with a wraparound set of services to make sure we're ready for whatever health issues might be involved, family dynamics. So it's not just simply going in and saying, oh, you should be a florist, right? That's not going to work.
Sure.
We've got to go in and really help understand, build capacity and a sense of hope with those individuals. But we know who they are. Ask any school counselor how the seniors are doing, and they'll tell you exactly which ones they know are not making it. And the FAFSA form completion is going to be one of those telltale signs. They
Yeah.
may be great in school, but if they don't have the FAFSA completed, they aren't going anywhere. Right. So,
What states are you seeing do really good work in this space?
well, it's hard to say. I mean, we have a lot in terms of the work-based learning piece
Yeah.
of it. Yeah. Um, we have like 10 states that got a nice score from American Student Assistance's evaluation. So the overall score of 10 states meeting that their benchmarks is kind of a challenge. I think what we're needing to, I think all states need to be improving communications between the schools, the employers, families, about how we can connect up, right? And so that's
Okay.
one of the big issues is going on is we're getting some policies out there, but we're not getting communication about those. We don't
Excellent.
have the
Gotcha.
technology so that businesses can easily jump into this and that the youth and families can connect with those businesses as well. So we have a long ways to go in building our infrastructure to make this work is a problem. We also have to kind of think through what the incentives are to help business really be at the table. And we have to kind of think of the communications. It's another area we're missing. You know, what is the value added? What's the shared value we're bringing to the table on this? And we need to find those business leaders that can champion it for us as we go forward. So there's some work to do. We probably need more intermediaries in this space. And so that could be from the Workforce Development Board, could be the local chambers of commerce. Those are great
Yeah.
ones to think about whether they can use some of their dollars to bring someone in that can work between the business community and the school. Those things have been very effective as a grassroots level approach.
Okay.
But I think the state can do a lot to be thinking about creating a norm set, right? What are the expectations we need to have, you know, from the business and from our chambers and workforce development boards around this space? And we owe as one way in. I mean, once you build the structure to work with that most at-risk group as they're leaving, it can work for everybody. It does,
Yeah, you
you
can
know,
scale that up.
that's the thing. Yeah, you get somebody hired to work on that. They've got plenty of time and space to expand out as they're working with the other youth because we want to prevent them from becoming at risk as well. So there's a lot that we can do in that space.
So, other than what we talked about, Scott, what do you really want this audience to have as takeaways, whether it be communication, technology? What is the thing that you would say, you know what, folks, I really want you to think about, and what
Yeah.
would that be?
Well, first is I want them to go to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce's talent pipeline system that they have. All right. It's a very effective way of communicating the role of business and education as partners in this development process. And they showcase how business needs to get into those elementary schools to just get them excited about the things that are going on, right? And they need to bring in conversations so young children see themselves as potential in relation
So
to
starting early, you're saying?
starting early. And so if you're going to do job fairs is awesome, but the job fairs have to have the tools from that trade being practiced right there. They have to have youth that are using our online systems to learn about who's coming to visit so they can ask meaningful questions. So they're ready to engage with the partners. There's a dynamic process that moves into the later elementary, middle school process. And then you start to see things like moving towards the job shadowing, the practicum, the internships.
Yep.
There's a lot of range of things that we can do, but business could also come in as we're doing things in the school. So, we've got a number of organizations that want to be there while they're doing business work or while they're doing some kinds of activities. We can have business connected as role models. We're focusing on manufacturing to help us look at our curriculum, help us look at the kinds of learning opportunities we can do. When that happens, business gets invested in wanting to support the work that's going on in the schools. That's had tremendous benefits around the country. Can actually start working on the tools that they would use in the world of work, right? And the business community is helping to support that. We're not going to get more money. They're providing the support because they see the school as wanting to support their business interests. So there's a lot of things we can do in this space. The U.S. Chamber gives a nice pathway model of what we can do, but then we can also start talking to business about and connecting with business to see what's going on. I think that that at the end of the day, then what we're looking at is a range of activities that we call work-based learning. It's a range of things. So it's not just the paid apprenticeship, which we want.
Right.
It's not just the paid internship, which we want. We want all of that at the end of the day. But what we also want are all of these other touches with the world of work throughout, from preschool all the way
through.
All the way through. Yep.
Beautiful. Scott, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it, and look forward to hearing more about this particular report, what else states can do, and what we can do in the state of New Hampshire to really better where we are. So we appreciate your time, and look forward to the next steps.
All righty. Take care.
Thanks so much.